Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio, a place where dreams take flight, with authentic storytelling, diverse perspectives and meaningful conversations, where global stories unite and bridges are built beyond all borders. Discover world-class education, entertainment, hope and inspiration. Together, we're building bridges worldwide. Subscribe to our channel, USA Global TV. Download our app, USA Global TV. Be our guest or join our team. Visit usaglobaltv.com. Thanks to our founder and executive producer, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Music score by Yeffy Tang from Cloud Road Music. Voiceover artist Mike Porter. Creative direction by Paul Garcia. USA Global TV and Radio, your home for global connection. All rights reserved. This video and its contents are the exclusive property of USA Global TV and Radio. Unauthorized use, duplication or redistribution in any form is strictly prohibited.
USA Global TV and Radio proudly presents The Corner Bookstore, hosted by Red O'Loughlin. Step into a world where every story inspires. These pages come to life through the voices of authors from around the globe. Written by our global community of TV show hosts and best-selling authors, these works span genres, generations, and geographies, united by the power of storytelling. Discover your next favorite book and meet the minds behind the work. Thursdays, only on USA Global TV and Radio.
Howdy all, Red O'Loughlin here. We're on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. I'm an author, 6 books. I'm working on 2 new ones right now. Published books, probably about 50 books for other authors. I speak quite a lot, primarily on health and wellness. That's my primary function, is to research the human body at the cellular level, chemically speaking. I look for cause and effect relationships. Treat a cause, fix a problem, treat symptoms, and you'll always be treating symptoms. So that's what I write about. That's what I speak about. And in between that, I have 3 shows I do every Thursday on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. And this is the first one, called The Corner Bookstore. So anybody involved in any aspect of book writing, editing, publishing, any part of that, the marketing end of things, you're more than welcome to be a guest here on the show. Today's guest is Kristina Rienzi. Kristina, please join me up here on stage.
Hi, I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
And we're so happy to have you today here too. Happiness is one of those things that we talk backstage about. And I remember writing an article many years ago that Denmark was the happiest place in the world. And the article said the reason being is they had so low expectations every day of their life that happiness was equated to expectations. And one of the books I wrote about deals with the subconscious mind and expectations and how do you talk to it. But when you look at expectations, when you look at the Scandinavian countries, because Denmark doesn't always lead the world every single year. I think this year it's Sweden or something. But is that part of your research into happiness, and does that have any impact on your happiness?
That's a great question. You know, I really started to study the science of well-being, which is happiness studies, which is to say positive psychology. They're all kind of related, right? Many years ago, and but really more currently with the pandemic and everything that was going on with the pandemic, right? And everybody's anxiety levels rose, depression rose, isolation rose. And what I found was, I personally do believe there is a connection between our expectations of the way things are supposed to be versus what they are. And I think one of whatever is happening. So I do believe there is a for my research really focused on the empowerment aspect and how we can make choices and take actions, and how those choices and actions have a direct feedback loop with positive psychology, with the feeling good, really, which is what we equate to happiness, feeling good. And that's science of well-being.
Yeah. My original study focused on Dr. Maxwell Maltz's psychocybernetics. Are you familiar with that term?
You know what? I am, but I haven't delved into it too deeply, but I've heard it in the psychology world.
Yeah, he was a cosmetic surgeon. I think wrote a book back about 1960, and that kind of piqued my interest into that area. But let's pique our interest into your area. So before you became a writer extraordinaire in two different kinds of genres, fiction and nonfiction, what was life like for Kristina?
So my background is in psychology. I have my master's in psychology. I actually have 2 years into a PhD program. I've worked in different therapeutic environments, individual group counseling. I've also worked in business and human resources field and coaching, doing all different kinds of coaching. So I have a lot of that kind of behavioral science background and helping profession background. I've always loved writing. I've always loved language. I've always, in any role that I've had, writing has been a big part of it. But I started really doing fiction writing and getting into that more professionally about 15 years ago. So that's when I sort of decided, you know what, I want to explore this creative side. And it really started with fiction. And only up until, the pandemic times did I really dive into the nonfiction area. But yeah, I have my heavy backgrounds in psychology, specifically behavioral studies, and more recently the coaching aspect of that. Which, and to have a distinction between counseling, therapy, and coaching. Really, when you're doing when you're practicing psychology in your work,
A little bit of a technical difficulty here with the transmission. Let me see if it comes back here quickly. Kristina, we're losing a little bit of the bandwidth or whatever. I'm not sure where it's coming from. I reset my Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So maybe that might help on your end if you do the same. Only take about 10 seconds to do usually.
Sure. You want me to go ahead and do that? Just reset it?
Yeah, let's see if that'll help things out quite a bit. While Christina's resetting her Wi-Fi. Okay, she's back again. Okay. Let's hope that fixes the problem. Sometimes it does, sometimes it doesn't. Some days we have great communications. I've had times where you're talking to all the way around the world, Australia, and it's like you're right here in the same office with me. But anyway, so you have the interest in as you're talking about. And one of the things that first came to my mind is, have you done a lot of travel? And then what do you read in order to get your mindset that you can write about fiction and nonfiction and bring in the thriller, twisty thriller, I think, as you call it, and how do you apply that psychology? So, have you done any extensive traveling, and what do you prefer to read?
I'm not a huge traveler. I am kind of more of a homebody, but I have traveled across the United States and Europe in my life. I do prefer to kind of hang close to home. I live at the Jersey Shore, so a lot of my thriller stories are take place at the Jersey Shore. My philosophy is I'm a learner. I'm a lifetime learner, like lifelong learner. So I'm constantly engaging with, different kinds of trainings, webinars, taking classes, reading nonfiction about the craft of writing, challenging myself. I also do love to read thrillers and mysteries. That's my favorite genre, but I'm open to reading just about anything. I read a lot of nonfiction about mindset, about just habits and how to, kind of get your mind wrapped around discipline and that kind of thing. Because I think with writing, it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of working on your craft on a regular basis. It also takes connection. So another thing that I'm huge with is, early in my writing career, I was in a part of a ton of different writing groups that I would go in person and meet up with people and connect and make friends, which I've kept all these years. And I still do connect with those writers, not as much in person as I would like, given my busy schedule, but I definitely try to stay connected with other writers, because I think it's really important to make sure you're dealing, with the pulse of what's going on in the market, that you have a support system, because I do believe, just trying to do things kind of on your own in this business is lonely and also isolating. But I believe in the power of connection and the power of education, and so those are the two things I kind of lean on to keep me. To keep my writing in the present, to be, relevant, and also just to keep my mind sharp and excited about the next, project I'm working on.
Okay, so you're in fiction and nonfiction. What did you write first?
So the first book I wrote was a fiction book called Choosing Evil. It was a paranormal thriller. It had a sequel, Breaking Evil. Those were both with a small press. It was back in the day of Twitter pitching, so I did a Twitter pitch and got a deal that way. And then I stuck with the thriller genre, writing several other stories. I have some standalones, Luring Shadows, which was part of a larger novella, multi-genre novella series where we all wrote in different genres, but really around the same town. And then I had several short stories that went into a book called Twisted. There's 3 short stories in there. They're all different thriller type genre stories. Winter Road, which I'm more present day working on the screenplay for. But Winter Road is also a thriller, domestic thriller. Luring Shadows is a domestic thriller, and then I wrote Among Us, which is a government conspiracy thriller in the sci-fi land. And I was also part of Sisters in Crime 20th Anniversary Anthology, and I wrote a story for that. And that book, the book itself is called 30 Shades of Dead. My story is called Gone on the 4th of July. Several of my books have turned into audio as well. So those are all kind of the thrillers. I have about 7 books that are thrillers, 10 stories within those. And then after that, I got into my 5 Happy Choices, which was it's nonfiction, but it's applied psychology.
Okay, so you wrote your first book. How long did that take?
That took in total 2 years to write my first fiction book, because I was a novice at novel writing. I did a lot of short stories, but I had never written a novel before, and took a lot of work. I hired an independent editor in LA that was through a few friends that I had. Her name is Susan Lacken. She's excellent. She's worked on some big authors. She's written herself. She's got a whole business going, and she really ripped my story apart. I had to rewrite it like 5 times. And by the time I rewrote it, it was ready for a book deal. So it really took a lot of work on my part. The first one, for sure.
Well, that was the next question I was going to come to, the editing process. What was involved in that? So you realized it needed editing, but when you're writing a novel, it's more than just grammar and diction and stuff. It's location, it's people, it's plot, it's introduction, it's everything.
Yes, so it was a lot. Yeah. So editing process. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Continue. I'm sorry.
So the concept of writing the book you had, did the characters change? Did the plot change as you became more familiar with what the editor was looking for?
Yes, everything changed, because I didn't know. I am very good about saying I don't know what I don't know, and I want to learn and do better. And I'm an easily editable and coachable person, because I want to do the best I can do. And so everything changed. There was the core of the story stayed the same, but many of the characters were replaced, got dumped, new ones added. The plot changed. The book was essentially rewritten several times, because it was hard for me to get the story concept from short story, which I loved writing and was like kind of easy for me. Writing short is sort of easy for me. I like it, to that longer novel. And it was, an act of faith in the process, right? I took classes, I joined groups, I had critique partners, I had critique groups, and I had an editor, and the editor really ripped it apart. And I remember getting the first edit back and saying, I'm just not going to do this. I was like, I'm setting it on fire. I was laughing, but serious. I really wanted to get rid of it. She said, do not do that. Make the changes. I said, well, it's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot of work. You're new. So I think I had to learn. And of course, every book after that got a little easier. It's never 100%. I always feel like I can do better. And I'm always looking for the help developmentally, because I don't want to miss anything. You know, I'm not Stephen King over here. And I feel like if I was, that would be a different story. But I'm, still learning, still growing. And so open to that. And I think to be good at anything you do, the mindset of growth and learning is critical. There's always going to be someone you can compare yourself to say that person's better than me, or you can always compare yourself, but really you got to compare yourself to yourself. How much better am I now than I was 10 years ago? What do I have to work on? And what projects can I take on that will challenge me to be a better writer and a better storyteller? So yeah, that was I went into it with that mindset, and it has helped me because I never felt like I couldn't do it. I just felt like, beyond that first time, I felt like it's going to be a challenge, and that's what makes a good story.
I think a lot of us take our writing too personally. And as such, somebody says your baby's ugly, and we get very defensive about it, very emotional, but it's a skill set we haven't developed yet. And
Correct.
And it's one of those things that you have to be open for criticism if you're going to improve, because it's just that. And because that one person says your baby's ugly doesn't mean another person agrees with it. It just means
Correct.
that there's differences of opinion out there. But again, it's how much do you want to put up with, and how much do you want to pay, both in time and money, because money is one thing, but if you spend an extra 2 years editing something, that's 2 years you could have been writing another 2 books.
Yes. Yeah. It's a personal choice. Everyone we should be self-aware of what our skill sets are. I know the things I'm good at. I know what I need help with, and I'm open to those things. I think, it's a learning process. You have to hire someone you trust. And I think, what I did learn on Among Us. So Among Us was another book that was heavily edited because I wrote it and I was pitching it to agents and editors. And then all of a sudden I got this surprise phone call from my assistant at the time, who had a connection at Audible, and Audible wanted to use Among Us in a training series on narrating an audiobook and publish it as an audiobook. And it had to be pulled from the agents and editors, and it had to be indie published. And I say that to you because I thought, okay, let me make sure it's in the best place it can be. So I hired someone, and this was a different kind of editor, and he was, a little different to work with. And it was good for me at the time, my skill level at that.
Yeah, our exposure to more and more people as we develop as writers, authors, leads us to become better. And on my end, there appears to be another bandwidth issue there. So give it just another couple seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, back again. AI, do you use AI, artificial intelligence, at all in anything that you're doing? Kristina, you're frozen, and occasionally I see your mouth moving back and forth. So maybe it's a good time to reset the Wi-Fi one more time. That seemed to really fix the problem last time. Let's try it again.
I was fine on myself, but you frozen on my end. So AI is interesting. I'm learning more about it, and I'm taking an interest in it. I want to understand. I don't feel comfortable using it right now in any of I will not use it to write anything, because that's not for me. I feel like my best writing is going to come from learning and doing myself. The only AI I would say I use is spell check, which everybody uses, right? Spell check, like Grammarly, that is a form of AI. I want to make sure that I said something properly. I want to edit the story before it goes to the editor. But in terms of the story, in terms of writing, I want to do it myself. That's why I'm doing this. It's a creative outlet. And if I have to work harder, I'm fine with it. I don't know. I know a lot is going on with AI right now, and there's some good, there's some bad. I think a lot of stuff, when it comes to research, though, I think it's really important to check the source. Don't believe what you read online. I learned that in, doctoral school for psychology. There's stuff on the internet, and then there's truth. And you got to really be a good researcher if you're going to use research to back a story. And I know fiction is fiction, but you still want it to have a reality to it. Do the research. Make sure the sources are accurate. Check multiple sources. I know it's extra work, but AI isn't 100%. Some of the things AI says is incorrect, quite frankly. And so be careful with it. I just say use caution, use it wisely, use it for your benefit, but don't let go of the fact that your voice as an author, your creativity as a human being is far superior to anything AI can perform for you. And so leaning on it as a crutch, I don't believe in. Using it as a tool to help you, maybe efficiency-wise, I like that. But I'm kind of just still on the outskirts of, I don't know how I feel about it. And I'd rather do the work. And guess what? If my work isn't good enough, then so be it.
Okay, we're getting close to commercial break. I want to talk about marketing and how you got involved with marketing your books when we come back from the commercial break. So why don't you give some thought to that? And that's where we'll pick up in about a minute and a half.
From the magical world of the amazing adventures of Lady Ella comes a heartwarming new journey filled with kindness, courage, and compassion. Lady Ella, the beloved ladybug and listening mentor, is back, and this time she's not alone. Meet her brave and thoughtful brother, Lord Jack. Together, they take flight on their very first kindness adventure. Along the way, they meet 3 new friends in need: a duck feeling discouraged, a mouse struggling to be understood, and a busy little bee who's completely lost. But with the power of elevated listening and simple acts of kindness, Lady Ella and Lord Jack show us how understanding and empathy can make the biggest difference in someone's day. Written by Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck, the listening mentor, this 9th book in the best-selling Lady Ella series teaches children ages 5 to 10 the essential skills of listening, kindness, and etiquette. Now available for pre-order on Amazon. Scan the QR code and order your copy today.
Brett O'Loughlin here on the Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. One of the things we as authors love to do is write, but one of the skill sets that most of us don't have is marketing. In other words, we get the book done, we pay somebody to edit it, we get friends to help. Everything's there. The book is ready to tell the world about, yet we haven't been telling the world about it during our entire writing process for most of us. Kristina, tell us about your marketing skills and how you develop those as you're coming out with your 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th story or book.
So I don't know what skills I have or don't have, but I feel like I love people. I love connecting. I have built relationships over years and years, and that's kind of what I lean on. So between my newsletter, my Instagram account, through, I'm not on Facebook as much as I used to be, but through my connections, I, do what I can to, go to physical book signings. I've been to Barnes & Noble, Second and Charles. I'll do small bookstores around town, get out there and meet people. I think that's so important. And that's the word of mouth aspect that you don't hear about as much. And I think a lot of times social media can be flooded with too much information and it can get lost. So it is really important to build connections where people support you and are willing to, take that message out for you as well. And you have help there. Also working with a great publicist. I have a great publicist, Mickey Mickelson and Creative Edge Publicity. And they, help me get on shows where I can talk about my work and my stories and what I'm working on. So there's that aspect too. And I think it's really just about being authentic, talking about the process. I would love to say I post, 2-3 times a day online. I don't, I'm living my life. I'm in the present moment. I'm trying to make choices, but I absolutely am connecting with people and letting them know what's going on. And I believe, when I work hard, any of us work hard at something and we're authentic and we make good connections, and things will roll from there. And that's kind of how it's worked out for me. People want to support me because they know me as a person, not just online, but in my connections with them. And so I feel like that, word of mouth is really helpful, and, just being authentic and really caring about people and connecting with them. It seems, for me, it comes natural. It doesn't come natural, to a lot of people, but I feel like that's the part that I can do. If I think about, sell my book, I get stressed out. I think about like connect with what I'm doing, connect with people. And then if my book sells, great. Like that's the goal, obviously, to stay in business. But at the end of the day, it's really about me writing the book and getting it out in the world and hoping it resonates. And that, resonating with people is what will, be the best marketing tool that you can have, is just the connections and networking and authenticity of the author.
How do you get your cover art done?
That's a great question too. And it depends. I've used two different sources. Well, when I was with my publisher, handled that for me. But I have two different cover artists I use. One is Carrie March. She does individual covers for me. She's excellent, Carrie March Designs. And the other is Killian Group, and they're excellent. They work for the publishers as well, and they do editing, cover art, all different kinds of stuff. So it just depends on the book and what I'm looking for, but I do hire an artist. The only thing I do myself is write the book. Like I obviously edit it, but I hire an editor, I hire a cover artist. I mean, I feel like I am not, even in my audiobooks, I hire a narrator. I am good at the writing part, and I know my skill set, right? I am not a narrator. I am not an editor. I am not a cover artist. Like that is not my area of expertise. So I hire people to do that for me because I feel like they're the ones that know what's best. And it's been, that's what's worked for me.
Let's talk a little bit about audio books. How did you get involved with that?
Audiobooks, it was through my Among Us. The book Among Us I wrote was picked up by Audible. Audible chose it to be featured in their ACX University, which is an online platform for authors to learn how to produce an audiobook on ACX, Audible's platform. And so I went to Hollywood, the Celebrity Studios in Newark, and I met with the creative director there, and we produced this whole video series. And part of it was the narration was the part that they highlighted for my book Among Us. And so I loved it. I thought it was awesome. It was so exciting. They found a narrator for my book. They published it. It was excellent. So when that happened, I thought, I want more books to be audiobooks. So I went back to Audible, and I partnered with Chris Shula, who was the person in the video series working on the audiobook. Although Lewis Arlt was the narrator for Among Us, Chris Shula worked on the video series with us. So I had him to do Winter Road. Excellent job. And then I went out with 5 Happy Choices, which again, it's nonfiction. I could have done that myself. I didn't want to. That's not my expertise. I don't have voiceover training, and I wanted it to be professional. So I found on the ACX platform, Leslie Howard, who is excellent at doing audiobooks for nonfiction. So yeah, it's been a process. There's a lot that needs to be done with that. It's a lot more involved than I thought, but truly these audiobook narrators are actors. They know how to tell a story. They know how to create a character from a voice. They are professionals. And so for me, a lot of people do their own audiobooks, and I just personally wasn't comfortable with that. I wanted somebody who really was a professional in that area to do it. And I'm very happy with the results, and I would do that again.
Any plans in the future to have your books in foreign languages?
That's a great question. I would be open to that for sure. I haven't explored that avenue, but I absolutely would do that. I think that's a great way to extend the story beyond, the English speaking language for sure. I haven't had the kind of time and energy to explore that, but that is absolutely on my list. My next, challenge is screenwriting. I had some opportunities arise, and so I'm working on that right now. It's not easy. It's another, writing muscle, completely different from anything I've done before. I think if you write a story, you can write it in any form, but you got to teach yourself. So now I'm teaching myself screenwriting. I'm being mentored, turning one of my books into a screenplay. And that's been exciting and fun and challenging. And that's something that I love it because it's short. I'm a short writer, right? Like I said before, I write skeletal and then I add to it for the novel. So why novel was so hard for me. Screenwriting is a little bit easier for me. It feels comfortable. It's a challenge in the sense the language is different and how you portray the story, but story is story, right? If you got a good story, you can put it in any form. So I'm working on that now. And I feel like that's going to be my next challenge is working on this in the screenplay world.
Okay, you talk about stories and form. Do you have any plans for video trailers for your books?
I did do some trailers in the past. I haven't done them of late, but it's definitely something on my mind for Winter Road, which is a book I published a long time ago, but we're turning it into a screenplay. So I would like kind of to drum up interest in that book again and explore that. It's really a holiday thriller, so not the time of year right now, unless you look at Christmas in July, which I watch Hallmark in July. So if you're into Christmas and you're into Hallmark, that's a thing that is coming up. But I think it's great. I don't know how good I am at doing it. I would probably, want some help there, but I love the idea of the trailer because especially when you're looking at, I'm turning this book into a screenplay, having a book trailer is really helpful.
Yeah, I can imagine a Klingon Christmas might be an interesting, twisty thriller.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Interviews. You do a lot of those podcast video interviews like we're doing here on live streaming TV. How has that affected your book sales and marketability and recognition and credibility? Let's talk a little bit about that for a bit.
It's been the best. I love it. It's my favorite thing to do. I would, you write all the time and it's like, to write a lot of things. I don't mind writing a post for a website or something like that, but I like to connect. So yeah, it's absolutely helped my book sales. It's helped connect with people. It's helped for building relationships. It's just helped with me to be more present in the community and also share the work I'm doing. And, if somebody sees it and goes, oh, that sounds like a good book, I'll check it out. It gives it more of a human element. You can write anything. And again, with AI, sometimes you hope that people are writing their own stuff, but you don't know all the time, right? But I feel like definitely when you're showing up and you're able to speak to what you wrote and why and who you are, people can connect with you. And for me personally, with authors that I love, connecting with them, whether in person at a book signing or watching a video that they're doing or, connecting with them online has been, a wonderful experience to sort of reinforce my love for their stories. I tend to lean, and I think a lot of people do just from a social psychology perspective, they tend to lean toward people they like and connect with. It's like, if I like you, I'll buy your book, I'll try your book, I'll support you. So doing interviews is a great way to connect with people when you can't always get to them in person, or maybe they're on the other side of the world or the other side of the country. So I absolutely love it. It's my favorite way to connect. I think it's just a great marketing tool, but also forget the marketing. It's a good networking tool, right? Make connections, make friends. And I've met a lot of people that way that I've kept in touch with, and it's been great.
Okay. As a doctoral student, 5 years from now, hopefully the degree is there. Do you see your nonfiction writing increasing because of the need to put out information that supports the field that you're in to, again, establish credibility?
Yeah, I love that. And that was kind of the goal. I always wanted to get a PhD psychology, and that's been a lifelong dream of mine. And part of me thought, oh, maybe I'll practice. And then I thought, oh, I really is where my heart is in sharing information. So I do see that in the future. I see, more detailed, in-depth, applied psychology driven books, for the mainstream. I'm not looking to write a textbook. I think I want to write things that are backed in science, that connect with the general public, that people can take and use. And I've done that with 5 Happy Choices, take the information, use it readily, right away. And you don't have to have, PhD to read it. But yeah, I absolutely think that is true. I also love fiction so much. And I think the psychology, all of my background in psychology helps feed the character development and, leaning into people's fears and triumphs over those fears and how that works out in my writing for fiction. So it helps on both, on both genres. And I think Writing in both genres feeds my soul. I'm a Gemini, so I'm like the twins. I've got two parts of my personality. That is so true for me. And that is why I think I'm attracted to both the thrillers and fiction and also the nonfiction in helping profession information.
Oh, allow me to be one of the first pre-congratulators, Dr. Kristina Rienzi.
Yeah, thank you. Very early, but thank you.
Very early, I understand. And sometimes our worlds don't always work out the way they want. Some things get delayed, some things change. You never know. But anyway,
Absolutely.
we're getting toward the end of the show. And I know that you mentioned earlier, Mickey Mickelson is your publicist with Creative Edge. He's provided a lot of great interviewers, guests here on our show. So when we take a brief moment, tell people, how do they get your books? How do they get in touch with you?
Sure. So on my website, it's www.kristinarienzi.com. I'm on Instagram at Kristina Rienzi. My books are everywhere books are sold. They come in all formats, including audio. I've got 3 books on audio. So if you like to listen, you've got that. My website, though, if you go there, all my books are there, fiction, nonfiction. You can sign up for my newsletter if you'd like to get, updates and inspiration in your inbox. But yeah, you can find me everywhere books are sold, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all online.
Do you have any book signings coming up in the near future?
I don't have any book signings coming up. I'm working on a screenplay right now, so that's taking up the majority of my writing time. I do hope to get out there next year a little bit, and maybe it'll be with 5 Happy Choices. I don't have any. I have several fiction books in the hopper, but I need my screenplay done first. That's my goal. So I'm a driven, disciplined kind of person. So once that's done, then I'll focus on the next. But yeah, if I'm out and about, I definitely shoot that out in my newsletter or put that on Instagram for people to come and meet me in person. Usually it's at the Jersey Shore. That's where I live. And there's tons of bookstores here and people love to come out and meet the authors. So you never know.
Yeah, Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck lives there in New Jersey also, and she does book signings periodically at some of the local stores. So that might be a good contact for you since you both are somewhat local to each other.
Yeah, absolutely. Would love it. I absolutely love just to go out and meet people. Makes me happy.
Well, Kristina, thank you so very much for your time today. Really enjoyed it. I look forward to our next visit. I really do. And in the meantime, I am going to bid you adieu, and we will catch you when we catch you.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to be on your show, Red. All the best.
Thank you so very much. Red O'Loughlin here. We're getting ready to wrap up today's The Corner Bookstore on the USA Global TV and Radio Network. My next show is called The Wise Ones, and it begins in about 20 minutes from now. After that, I have a show called Talking Heads, and I've been doing a series here lately on aging and more focused on foods and aging. So today I'm looking at 10, 11, 12 aging processes in the body, of exactly what causes the body to age. And from a food perspective, from a nutrition perspective, what can we do in order to hopefully decelerate the aging process, but also understand, be aware of our food choices can also accelerate the aging process. You start aging seriously at about 25, 30 years of age, and then it starts becoming more noticeable after that. But by the time you get into your 60s and 70s, you can definitely tell there's some level of aging on most people. Some people seem to be immune to it, or we don't know how they handle it, but genes are an interesting phenomenon, and sometimes they can be overcome. But regardless, that's my topic today, is foods and aging, and I'll be going into a lot of detail as at the cellular level in the body, at the DNA level, what causes us to age and what can we do about it. So that being said, I'm getting ready to conclude today's show, and I look forward to joining you all next week. Every Thursday, I do 3 shows back to back. The first one, a little before noontime, is called The Corner Bookstore. The noontime central is The Wise Ones, and then in 1 o'clock central is Talking Heads. So that being said, I will catch you all later on. Take care now. Bye.
Get ready to wear the brand that's changing the world of media. Introducing the official USA Global TV and Radio online store. From our TV show hosts to our incredible global guests, you asked, we delivered. Rep your appearance with pride. Whether you've been on air, hosted a show, or tuned in, we have something just for you. Visit us at usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com and start shopping today. Check back frequently. We're dropping fresh new designs all the time. Showcase your role in our global community. These designs celebrate your voice, your story, your presence. It's more than just merchandise. It's a movement of hope, inspiration, education, and elevated listening. Head to usaglobaltvradioshoп.myspreadshop.com. Your spotlight awaits. USA Global TV and Radio. Elevate your style. Elevate the world.
Thank you, viewers and listeners of USA Global TV and Radio, for joining us today. We're honoured to have your time and attention as part of our global community. At USA Global TV and Radio, we believe in the power of authentic conversations, meaningful connections, and creating a world of possibilities together. Want to be part of something bigger? Join our team of elevated listeners at usaglobaltv.com, a space where your voice matters and your ability to listen transforms relationships. Stay connected with us across all our platforms for thought-provoking discussions, expert insights, and empowering stories. Subscribe to our channels at youtube.com/c/USA-Global-TV. Follow us on social media and explore the endless opportunities we're creating for growth, learning, and inspiration. Together, we're not just broadcasting, we're building bridges and changing lives one conversation at a time. For inquiries, contact us at info@usaglobaltv.com. Music by Johnny Dyes. Produced by Executive Producer and Director Dr. Jacqueline Kerbeck. Voiceover by Mike Porter. Creative Direction by Paul Garcia. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025. Visit usaglobaltv.com to view our full terms and conditions.